with her tactics and some of the things that she's come up with in her philosophies. She is just an awesome person to work with. I adore her. I respect her. She is my friend and my colleague. And no need for any further introductions. Dr. Brenda Wade.
Oh, thank you. You're amazing.
You are.
You're sweet.
You are. Love you. Love you.
How many of you know how amazing Colleen Matthews is? As we're going through the hall and through the elevator, it's like, hey, she knows everybody knows her, and she's keeping everyone in order, which I appreciate very much. I see familiar faces. Nice to see you again. Yeah. God, it's an honor to be with you. I've been thinking about you guys for the last few weeks, just kind of doing what I do. So I'm going to roll the way I roll. How you doing? Which is to drop into my heart and really be present with you. And what I've learned in my years of being a practitioner, working with severely, acutely, mentally, chronically mentally disturbed people, running the day treatment program at Bayview Hunters Point, working with educated people like ourselves, that there's a common thread for most of us. And it doesn't matter who we are, where we come from, that thread is we're struggling with how to connect. How to connect with ourselves, how to connect with others, and most especially, I want to address today how we connect with people who look and seem different from ourselves. Because there's a lot of stuff that goes on, as most of you know, in our heads about us and that mysterious other. So let me just confess all my sins right up front so you know a little bit about why I'm going to come at you the way I do. First of all, I started out, oh my God, how many years ago? The University of Washington Medical School, doing research on prematurely born macaque monkeys. We were studying auditory and visual acuity. We then went to human subjects. And this was a great thing for me to do at the time because I was in a dark, dank, have you ever smelled an animal lab? Seriously funky lab, but it fit because I was very depressed. And I was depressed enough that that place actually felt safe to me. And when I came out, if somebody said hello to me, I was so disassociated, I would startle like, oh my God, they see me? They're speaking to me? I was not in good shape. So my own journey has been a journey of self-discovery, and I've had the most extraordinary good fortune because while I was working at that lab, I went to a party one night with a guy I was dating from the clinical psych department. The head of the department looked at me and said, "You're not one of my students." And I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Well, who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm over there doing research." He said, "Well, I have a scholarship for a minority student to go and study for 30 days with Dr. Virginia Satir in a live residential workshop." I said, "Well, where's it going to be?" He said, "Lake Wilderness Resort." And I thought, free vacation, I am there. Now, I had no idea, because you know what it's like when you're a student. How many 30-day vacations in the mountains are you going to get, right? I had no idea that this was the turning point in my life. So Dr. Satir, those of you who know her work, mentored me for the next 15 years. And what she taught me is that as practitioners, our greatest challenge is to be present. To be present with ourselves, to be present with the people we work with. So with that as a jumping off point, what I came to when I came to my clinical work, because of course I got out of that frickin' monkey lab right at the end of that month, changed over to clinical, started specializing in kids with special needs and families and da-da-da-da. And my mission is to reduce the divorce rate by 50%. I don't think I can eradicate it. I'd really like to, because I've identified that as one linchpin in most of the things that afflict us. If we can have stable families, think how many other things we can impact. So I'm focusing here because I want to attack the health disparities that are also part of this cycle. I want to be able to attack children's success. Most of you know about Nadine Burke's research with ACEs. We can reduce a lot of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, if we stabilize families. So there are just so many things. People who end up in prison populations, and of course, mental illness. If we get somebody with mental ill, with a fragile personality, if they're in a stable environment, that's why people come here to the hospital. They do better, right? Because we get them stable. We might drop in some meds, but I really see that a stable environment is crucial. So let me talk about, and those who know me know I'm not going to be talking to you. I'm going to need your help. So I'm going to have to call in some volunteers. And let's see, do you mind volunteering? Thank you. And might I have you volunteer? Thank you very much. And who else has got their hands free? It doesn't matter whether you make eye contact with me, so don't bother looking down. Everybody's like this now. She won't see me if I look at the floor. I see you. Sir, would you mind? Thank you for volunteering. I appreciate that. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I need one more volunteer. And may I have you, please? Thank you. It's mostly just your hands are free, you're not eating, I can grab you. You're defenseless, you had no food. Okay, and you are, remember
Miley.
you, Miley. Hi, Miley. And you're?
Ann.
Ann? Mike? Nav, got it. Okay, I won't remember, but I at least want to know that I met you. Okay, what we have here is a family. We have a lovely family. So we're going to have 2 moms and we're going to have 2 kids. All right, so you guys are now a happy couple, or maybe not. We'll see in a minute. And would you be little, please, Mike? Would you be little over here? Thank you. Just kind of be little. And Nav, you're not quite so little, but you're not all grown up either. So you're right in here, maybe about 6 and maybe 8. Okay? And here we have, how long have you been together?
8 years. Yeah.
8 years, okay.
We were under pressure.
You're under pressure, okay, got it. All right, so maybe because you work here, there's a certain amount of stress connected with what you're doing. How do you handle that stress when you come home?
Darling, be honest.
Be honest. There you go.
Well, I keep to myself, and I, just.
So you're keeping to yourself.
I keep to myself.
And then how do you handle your partner keeping to herself?
I mean, it really stresses me out, but when she's like that, I want to disconnect too.
Okay, so disconnect, this is great. And now we have your typical family. Only this didn't start here. What we're looking at are coping strategies, and you all know where they learn them. Where?
Down there.
Where did they learn their coping strategies? In their own family. So here we go back to my years in that monkey lab. You all know the brain is not hardwired, soft-wired for these kinds of patterns prior to the age of 8. 80% of the subconscious mind, subconscious patterns are in there. The brain is a sieve. We can't go, well, perhaps my parents are disconnected because it's an intergenerational pattern that came from the trauma that their ancestors went through. And of course, they've had no opportunity to heal. 8-year-olds just go, crap, what's wrong with me? So Mike is over here, Nav is over here going, what's wrong with us? Look at these disconnected people. If they're disconnected from one another, where's the energy to nurture these 2 children? Where's the energy? Can you see where the gap begins and why I'm pointing over here to gotta stabilize families? So how do we start stabilizing a family? Where do we intervene? Come on, I got my colleagues in the room. Where do we intervene?
Right here.
Right here doing what? What do you got, Katrina?
Pull back. They need to re-engage.
Okay, but you know what I would say? Before they can re-engage with others, thank you. They've got to re-engage with themselves. Now, what gets in the way? I'm going to use you, Miley. What gets in the way, and this is not true about Miley, you all know that. She's a very connected, very connecting person, okay? There's nothing personal happening up here. All right. What gets in the way of us connecting with ourselves?
Time constraints.
Time constraints play a role. But it's not the time constraint, so I'm here to challenge you. So throw things out. There's no wrong answer, but I may offer you a different way of seeing it.
And reasonable expectations.
And reasonable expectations like what?
Like thinking you should be a perfect parent.
Any parents in the room? We're all perfect, right? Yeah, exactly. So that is very unreasonable, but where does that disconnection begin? We're making a circle. We're making a circle. We're making a circle. Okay, when we were kids, our parents had some version of this going on. So children go, well, obviously, I'm not going to get my needs met out there. I'll come up with something. Now, most of us are intelligent, well-educated people. What did we come up with? Come on. What did we come up with? Being studious. What else?
Career.
Career. What else?
Marriage.
Marriage. We put our eggs in the I'm going to do well basket. I certainly did. I did really well, only nobody knew that inside was this totally depressed, anxious person because I mastered a very important skill. It's called looking good while feeling bad. What is it? Now, I want you to know about that because many of us have mastered it. Am I the only one? How many have mastered that? And why is that such a great thing, we think? Because nobody is supposed to know what's going on. But what if I came in and I said, actually, I'm having a day today where I'm feeling totally overwhelmed. You know, I'm going to be flying out tonight to do the Dr. Oz show. I'm running and gunning. My office staff is MIA because they've got a sick kid. What if I came in and just said that? What does that do? Does it make me less credible? What does it make me? Hello, we're all in this together. You've all had those days, yes? So one of the first barriers to reconnect with self is Miley has to come home and go, you know what? I am frickin' overwhelmed. And let me tell you, today, my colleagues, wonderful people, I love them, but they weren't there for me today. And I had this difficult patient, and I had to manage blah, 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 blah. And then what's going to happen if you're connecting with your feelings, sharing them, and then what does the partner get to do? Connect, connect, connect. Everybody say connect, connect, connect. That is our watchword. What we're working on is how do we connect here, which allows us to connect here. Because I can't connect to you and you can't connect to me unless I open some space for you, right? If there's no space, what are you going to get? I'm fine. My mother was the queen. I swear to you. Every day, Mom, how are you? I'm fine. To this day, my mother has dementia. She can still say, I'm fine. I'm like, woman, I know you're not fine. And I would go through, you know, all these things, Dad being ill and dying, Mom, always fine, always fine. And I have a theory about illness and mental illness, which is the more stuff we keep bottled up inside, it's like a pressure cooker, and then one day, the cork comes out. The cork comes out. And then we're looking at the person going, mentally ill. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe what we've got is an emotional charge that needs a safe place to be released, and I'll talk with you about how I use that in just a minute. Okay, so we got them connecting. Now, what about those kids? What was that? They don't look good. They don't look good. Okay, thank you. Thank you. But Nav and Mike, don't take any of this personally. What else? What about those kids?
They need to connect.
They need to connect how? With whom?
With the parents.
Now, what is a parent's real job?
To nurture.
To nurture. To nurture.
The family.
What was that? Inner. Who said inner? Who said inner? inner being. Because the kids who are disconnected are kids whose parents don't give them permission to connect here. It's all pulled out here. Performance, it's your grades, it's how you look, it's how you comb your hair, it's how you speak. My mother was very big on that. I have to be grateful because that's how I got a television career. It was always enunciate your words, Brenda. She was a teacher, obviously. So the important thing is how we connect in here, in here, in here. I'm doing some tapping on heart centers. Bear with me because I might touch you. So when we're connected here, heart center goes from here to here. That's my spiritual side coming in. I can't leave that out of the room. It is so much easier, and so the real job is they connect to teach them how to do it. How to do it. Okay, so Mike and Nav, what do you need? You're only 6 and 8. What do you need from mom and mom? Come on over here, mom and mom. Attention. Ooh. What kind of attention would you like? You're going to have to shout, Nav, so everyone can hear you. What kind of attention would you most like from mom and mom?
One-on-one attention.
One-on-one, meaning you with both moms without your brother? Yeah. Every child's dream. There you go, sibling rivalry. Get rid of that sibling. I have 5 sisters and a brother. No chance of getting rid of the competition. We just had to outclass each other, right? And that's how it works in a big family. So you want attention one-on-one. Well, what about your little brother, Nav? What are we going to do with him?
Send him away.
Woo! We're going to have to talk to you. Come here. Just ixnayed the brother just like that. But he seems like a perfectly nice little boy. But you're 8 years old, and that is as real as it gets. Okay, that is as real as it gets. How do we deal with children having competing needs?
Pace yourself. You take turns.
You take turns, and you also teach the children connect here, and that allows them to begin to connect, because disconnected kids have no bandwidth for the other child. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, you guys are a lovely family. I'm sorry to break you up. But Mike, what do you most need from your moms?
I want to feel safe.
You want to feel safe. What would make you feel safe?
Maybe spending time together, eating together, playing together.
With whom?
With both my parents.
Both your parents. What about your sister?
Well, she's a role model for me, so I'd like to be
Right, but did you notice the subconscious spoke first? Parents. Oh yeah, well, she's a role model. So this family has a chance at healing. Now, if they were to come in for treatment before we did a little connecting work, what are we most likely to say about them as a family if we were to diagnose this family and come up with a treatment plan? Dysfunctional. Oh, of course we would. All right, you know what I would say? Highly frickin' functional. Why? These 2 moms want to connect. They're willing to do the work. They can shift and get these kids moving. And if somebody shows up in my office, they're functional. The truly dysfunctional people don't see us unless they're being brought in on a 5150. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm giving you a tool. The most important tool I learned from Virginia Satir is to look at families as functional. They are doing something that works for them, that makes their connection better. And if we can figure out what they're doing that's working and look at them and say, you know what, I noticed that the 2 of you, even though initially there was some feeling of disconnect, you're here and you're together. And you clearly have a motivation to make things better. Do you know how important that is? So what am I doing? What am I doing now? I'm looking for the strength that stabilizes this family, and I'm now pointing out the strength, so I'm emphasizing. And what happens to things we emphasize? What happens to things we focus on? They grow. What we give energy and attention to increases. You guys know that basic principle. So that is where I would intervene. I would never say, oh, they're dysfunctional. Because the minute we say that, now you know Andrew Weil's research and what happens when the healer enters the picture with a negative perspective. Outcome is more likely to be negative. Whereas if the healer enters with, what are the possibilities? What are the strengths? What is working here? How can I show them their strengths and help them connect the dots to the possibilities that they want to create in their lives? What if I do that? That shifts everything, does it not? And what does it do for us? Now, this is where I want to really bring it home today. Family, thank you. I'm going to let you sit down. You're a lovely family. Very lovely family. Thank you. Question?
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. Absolutely. Now, for us as healers, this is the key. I wanted to talk to you about this happening as you go through your career. That we will feel more alive, more energized after a 30-year career, which I have enjoyed, as opposed to feeling, when can I retire and get away from this madness? I can't take it anymore. And in order to do this, the very thing we just did with our family, we've got to do for ourselves. It's our only way of doing work, in my view, and this is all what I've learned in 30 years, okay, and you can take what you like, leave the rest, as they say in lots of programs. What I've learned is that this A stands for authenticity. If I show up as my authentic self, it may be hanging out, it may not be locked up, and I'm just going to acknowledge this is where I am. I'm human. If I make it okay to be human, then I'm making it safe. Did you hear little Mike say what I want is to be safe? That's everybody's desire, isn't it? How many people here want to be safe? Come on. That's the most human thing in the world. We want to feel safe. So if we're authentic, we're making ourselves safe. And we make everybody around us safe. Everybody feels it when there's a kind of energy in the room, right? And does that allow us to relax and feel comfortable? Absolutely not. Right, this L, I gave the keynote address for the California Convention of Therapists, and I really thought they were going to throw tomatoes at me because the L stands for love. I cannot work with anyone unless I love them. And I just enter the room, and I just love, I hope you can feel it, I just love being with you. I just love you. I do. And that's not like crazy, is it? But we were trained, all of us were trained to maintain professional distance and decorum. Well, how can the people who feel unloved and unnurtured come to us, a cold person, judging them, thinking about how pathological and dysfunctional they are, and feel better? Healing can't take place. And that is my phone going off. All right. Okay. Sorry. And of course, it is Veronica Faison from KPFA Radio. Let me turn that off. If you guys haven't listened to her show, I recommend it. Very thoughtful, and she has a lot of us on the show, so she's always interested in mental health. All right, so love, 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 love. Okay, authentic love. Now this I is huge. This is huge for us as healers and helpers. It's huge because it stands for insight. If I don't know who I am and what I'm packing, and I bring my stuff into the room with you, and I'm not responsible for it, if I don't own it, I bring my projections, my prejudices, and we all have them. We all have them. Everybody is racist, I'm sorry. We were born and raised in a culture that is imbued with racism. All we can do is take responsibility for it and go, yeah, I am. I am. I was born with it, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm conscious around it. I know it's there. And that way I can stop projecting so much of it on other people. That make sense? So insight is key. What in my family am I bringing into the room? I'm the second of 7. What do you think the risk is for me? Parental child, anybody, parental child? Maybe over-giving, so I've got to watch those boundaries that I don't overstep. So that is insight that makes us healthier as healers. Because what are we doing? We're doing the most important thing we're supposed to do as healers. That is heal who? Ourselves. When I was doing my different talks around talking to colleagues, I always ask how many people in the room are in therapy. Raise your hands, people in therapy. You get a gold star if you're in therapy. Because if you're not in therapy, how are you healing yourself? You've got to do something. That's why I actually love those CE classes. I mean, for some of us, they're just so time-consuming and they can be expensive. But we're working on ourselves. We're learning something. We're staying current in our field. And it is important that we keep growing our insight. Now, this V is one of my faves. Everybody do this. V, give me the V, give me the big V. It's not vagina, it is victory. It's a victory. Let me see it again. Now, if I want you to feel this, there's a reason we're doing this cuckoo thing. Come on, get your arms up. There's room. Get your arms up. V. I'm going to say V. Right there. V. Like this. All right. Now, what this does, if you put your arms up, I want you to notice what happens to your energy. It goes up. Why? Center of gravity is here. If my arms are down, my arms go here. Where's my center of gravity? Everybody tap. Woo-hoo! In the heart. Tap it. Tap. Come on, tap. You're not playing. Come on, tap. I'm not playing with you. Tap. All right, what we want more than anything, how are we going to feel alive and have any sense of victory? I'm alive and making a difference, and I walk in a room and people feel better because I'm alive. If I walked in a room like this, I'm happy to see you all. Yeah, you got any questions? What time am I going to get on that plane? No way! If I'm not alive and in touch with myself and I'm being authentic and there's some love in here, I can't in any way be any good to anybody, let alone myself, right? Okay, so this V gets center of gravity up, and this is the quickest way I know to get energized. You walk in the morning, you're feeling a little bit, go in the loo, or you can get your colleagues in a circle and do this, and tap, tap, and just like that, you're gonna have more energy. You have a difficult patient to see, or maybe a difficult colleague to deal with. I know you're all wonderful, but occasionally I've heard there are difficult colleagues. Just lock yourself in the loo, get centered in your heart, and just like that, you'll shift to this energy. Now, the heart, those of you who think it's an organ that pumps blood, you're not up on your research, because we now know that this has sensory capacity, right? 80% more signals going from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart. This is very important, and when we open the sensory capacity of it, it's energizing. Is that good or good? That's good. All right, I'll make sure about that. All right, what is this going to stand for? You guys know what the E has to be for. Energy. And you've got to have ways to keep your energy truly, the word I want is regenerating energy. Now, what are the ways we can do it? You all know the research now. Some of it was done right here at SFGH. Remember the big study that came out that rocked everybody's world about prayer, meditation, positive attitude for people with HIV and AIDS? All those studies were done here. How many know that? If you don't know it,
We know it now.
you know it now, all right? So what that means is we have to find a way, each one of us individually, and I hope, collectively, to increase our aliveness and to stay energized. Now, my own personal program is, first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, and I invite you to do this with me, is I do this. Everybody do this. And I say, thank you, body. Excuse me.
Thank you, body. Thank you.
Now, we use it. It's a vehicle, but we never stop and go, thank you. This thing has intelligence. You guys know the mind and the body work together. One of my clients many years ago, he's passed away now, was head of pathology up at UC Med on Parnassus. very macabre sense of humor. He wore a white coat with a skull and crossbones on it. I thought, well, how do you talk to your patients about their diagnosis if you've got the skull and crossbones? Don't you think that's, he thought it was funny. But one day he said to me, he said, I give all my patients pictures. I said, pictures of what? He said, of whatever they've got. And I just couldn't figure it out because he was so, hard science, nothing. He said, well, I thought you'd know because you're into all that woo-woo stuff that you do. I said, thank you. And what is it you're doing with the pictures? He said, so many of his patients came back to him and the tumor had shrunk and they hadn't started chemo or radiation. He said, what happened? And they would say, oh, I've been visualizing it shrinking. And he started giving every single patient a picture of whatever it was because he felt he'd be irresponsible as a physician if he didn't. Now think about it. He's not the only person that's noticed that the mind and the body work together. So if we wake up in the morning and we say to our beautiful, healthy bodies, thank you, just thank you, that's it. What are we doing?
Increasing our body energy.
Increasing the energy in the body. So guess what? You're going to wake up feeling a little more like I'm ready for action today. Second step for me, I'm just going to share my own little program I've come up with over the years. I do some stretches because we need to keep the body loose and limber. Is that good?
That's good.
Great. Yoga is a wonderful thing. I advise that for everybody. And then the third thing is prayer and meditation. Now, I am all about the metaphysical, mystical, whatever path calls you, I don't care. That is your personal business. This is America. Everybody gets to worship any way they want, right? Right. Wink, wink. Just got back from the deep south, wink, wink. Woo! A little deep down there. There's only one way to heaven. And it's in the big book. So I'm down there trying to go, not ruffle anybody. However, here in San Francisco, you can do whatever you please along those lines as long as you do something that uplifts your spirit so that when you go out and you come here and you do whatever you're doing as a healer and a helper, you've taken care of yourself first. Because if you're on empty and you show up to work with other people or be with other people, I don't have to reemphasize that, do I? Right? Okay, so any questions? I'm going to pause here. Any questions? How am I doing on time? Good. I'm good? How much time do we have? Okay, questions, please. You can ask me anything. Anything. That's an offer you don't get every day.
Could you go through the letters once more?
You bet. Who remembers? Authentic. Love. Love. Tap, tap. We want that. Love. Inside. Good. Tap here. Why are we doing this neurolinguistic programming? Let's get it in there. Okay. Insight.
Victory.
Woo-hoo! Do it. Let's have it. Yes. Energy, because the number one principle of quantum physics is energy. Everything is energy. Number two principle, all energy is connected. Number three, it's all magnetic. So if my energy's up like this, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? What's going to happen?
Gonna draw?
Cool. We're going to have a magnetic something happen. You never know. Okay, so it's all about that. Hey, I'm sorry. It's all, sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass you. It's all about, that was very nice. Thank you. All right, so it's all about the energy. Now, let me tell you, when I worked at the Bayview Hunters Point Clinic, chronically mentally disturbed patients, most of them, we had about 40 who came every day for day treatment, most of them young African-American men who had been part of the crack epidemic and had suffered severe mental breakdowns because of their drug use or alcohol use, leading to homelessness. Some of you see those kinds of people every day, right? Decompensate, get back on meds, decompensate. So when I got there, I was introduced to my staff. I walked in the staff room and I had 8 people sitting at their desk like this. I thought, holy moly, how are we going to make a difference in anybody's life when we are clearly not running any and no aliveness. So the first thing I did was not work with my patients. It was to get my staff juiced up. Now the outcome, I'm so thrilled, I just love telling this story. The outcome was, after the staff is, then the patients go up, because now the staff is really engaging with the patients instead of saying, sit down and be quiet and take your medication. We now have some engagement, and we have community meetings now, we have staff development meetings. And I said to the patients, what do you guys want to do? They're like, talking to us? Yeah, what do you want to do? So finally, after some murmuring and back and forth, somebody said, we want to travel. I said, great, where do you want to go? More, Reno, great, how are we going to get there? Well, we need transportation. How are we going to get that? So the outcome was my staff and patients organized a trip to Reno. Patients got cleaned up because we did a whole rummage sale while got closed. Went over to Green Tortoise buses, hired a bus. We get on the bus. Everybody had practiced decorum and practiced being dressed and practiced showing up like this. Get on the bus, we go to Reno, and as we're getting off the bus, the driver looks at me, he says, Miss, and by the way, I was very pregnant at the time. He said, are you in charge of this group? I said, why do you ask? He said, well, I know they're not mental patients or anything, but a couple of them seemed a little bit slow, and I was like, really? Got off the bus. They had the time of their lives. We come back, community meeting. Now everybody's totally revved up. Some of them are now getting jobs. They're starting to really comply with their medication because everyone's feeling alive. They're feeling alive. Staff and patients feeling alive. The next thing they wanted to do was go to Yosemite. So we do our same little thing. We raise the money selling mistletoe here. Some of you may have purchased mistletoe from us. We get ourselves, rummage sales, car washes, you name it, get ourselves to Yosemite. We're sitting there in the glorious, glorious Yosemite Valley, and one of the guys looks around, he says, you know what this is, Dr. Wade? I said, what? He said, well, we have occupational therapy, we have vocational therapy, we have group therapy, we have every kind of therapy. He said, but this is paradise therapy. I could have died and gone to heaven. My heart just goes, oh, when I think of that. So why do I tell you that story?
Talk about inspires people.
Say it again.
We need to tap into what inspires our patients, not what we think is going to work for them.
Back that up, sweetheart. You're almost there. What inspires?
What inspires me?
Me! Yes, because what inspires you will inspire your patients. When you're in the presence of an inspired person, everybody goes like this. That's why it's good to have such inspired colleagues in the room with you, right?
Right.
Yes. All right, inspired colleagues, let's have it now. Questions?